BMW has been in the business of making cars for over 90 years now. They have a very long and very illustrious history, so much so that today BMW is one of the most recognized, most desirable brands in the world, and they have some fantastic history and cars to look back to. With the debate about how our future cars are going to be powered, the effects of climate change, the effects of air pollution, this is a look at how our future of mobility could be, and we're driving the i3s today to figure out what the future looks like. Of course, the first thing that strikes you when you look at the i3 is that it's a very non-BMW design. It does have some of the family values of BMWs, like the double kidney grille, like the Hofmeister King, but it's a very different design. I think it's designed to sort of establish the I sub-brand that BMW has for its future vehicles. The other thing you notice are, of course, the big wheels. It's a small car and it's got 20-inch wheels, 175 sections in the front, 195 in the rear. For me, one of the most interesting aspects of the design is also the suicide door. As you can see here, it's a small car, but to ease access to the rear bench, this is an interesting touch. It just gives you more access. The roofline is also quite high, so that way it's very easy to get in and get out of the rear seats. The uniqueness of the design of the i3s, like we saw from the design outside, also continues inside. You see, there's a fundamental difference between most hybrid electric cars we see on the roads today and the i3. The i3, if we transform a current car into a hybrid or an electric, there are sort of compulsions or compromises that you have to make, like the space for the engine, the space for the drivetrain. The i3 from day one was designed to be a purely electric car. So what that does is, because the batteries are stored lower, you need less space for the electric motors, for the charging infrastructure. It maximizes the interior space. It's a pretty compact car, but you can see how spacious it is. What also adds to the feeling of spaciousness, this huge glass house. It's got a massive windshield, big windows, especially that indent in the rear window. It's even the C-pillar of the car's part glass. Second interesting thing is, with the I series of cars, BMW has also been experimenting with recyclable materials. So what you see here, especially stuff like this in the dashboard and the doors, this is all recyclable material. In fact, BMW says about 80% of an i3's interiors is recycled. The whole focus on materials also continues in the rest of the construction of the car. So what the passenger cabin, the whole box that you see here, is actually made out of CFRP, which is basically plastic reinforced with carbon fiber. That gives us less mass, which means you need smaller tires, you need smaller brakes, which means a smaller battery can take you further. So that, mass is always an engineer's problem. So that way, I think there's a definite focus from BMW using carbon fiber, using other materials, using recyclable materials, about how the future can be. The rest of the car is pretty typical BMW. You get a different kind of a digital display here, which tells you your speed, your range, how much energy you're consuming. There's a 10.25-inch iDrive display here, which works quite well. It doesn't have the latest gesture control and stuff, but it's pretty easy to use. I've said earlier, and I think I still stick to that the iDrive is probably the best multimedia system amongst all luxury manufacturers. It's just seamless to use now. Now, coming to the driving part, this is the i3s version, which has a slightly more extended capacity battery, and because it's electric, it's fully electric, there's full torque, 270 Nm of torque available from 0 RPM, so it's actually rather springy. See, our cameraman lost his focus here. So yeah, so what it does is it's actually really surprising you with the acceleration. The engine, I mean, in traditional terms, it's rated at about 184 bhp, which is roughly what you get there and thereabouts what you get from a 2-liter diesel engine from today's BMWs, and 270 Nm of torque. And it's quick. 0 to 100 is just under 7 seconds, which is no slouch by any chance. And the fact that there's so much torque available only makes it feel faster. One problem that it has for Indian conditions are those big 20-inch wheels. What that does is, with those narrow sidewalls, yes, it makes the steering response very fast. It turns it really quickly. It's fun, but it's also quite bad riding on bad roads. On our broken roads, it's pretty stiff. So that's something that BMW will have to work out. Maybe they can take the wheels an inch or two smaller. I think that might be a better bet. That is the good part of this. Also the fact that because it's fully electric, it's virtually zero emissions. You're not using hydrocarbons. So all that is the good part about the i3s. The problem actually comes down to two major things. One, the charging infrastructure or the lack of it. Second, the cost. So I'll come to both. Now, yesterday I was trying to charge the car to take it home and bring it back and then use it for the shoot. And because on a normal 15 ampere house outlet, it takes about 12 hours to charge it to the full, I couldn't take it home because I wasn't sure how much range it would have left after I came back the next morning to shoot. So that's one real problem. The range anxiety is a problem. When you see, let's say, your estimated range down to 40 kilometers and counting off, it really does scare you. So, I mean, and you know, this is problem that you have to face to understand. In a traditional petrol or diesel powered car, what do? You find a petrol pump, you fill up, you're ready to go. But if you don't have a fast charger like the BMW iWall installed at your house or your office, charging the car for any reasonable amount of range is going to be one problem. Second, a lot of us live in apartment complexes where charging infrastructure, where to plug in your car, that doesn't exist. So that's a problem. Public charging infrastructure doesn't exist. So that's one issue. And last is, of course, given all that, given the practicality, given the looks, given the driving feel, I really like the car. But BMW has not decided whether they want to get it to India or not, because the pricing might be prohibitive. For a car of this size, which is essentially about a Swift size, I think at European prices you're looking at anywhere between 50 lakhs or up. At that price point, it just becomes simply unaffordable for most people. So in that nutshell, the BMW i3s works really well as a product. It's quick, it's fun, it's easy to park, it's high tech, it's low emissions, all that. But the pricing and the charging infrastructure are one major issue that our government and the industry needs to sit down to sort out and figure out how we can take electric cars forward, if that indeed is the vision for the transportation of the future.